When we talk about a spendthrift trust, what we're referring to is a trust that is always, I like to tell clients this is an entity that can hold property. So I can own property, this thing can own property, this thing can own my money, it can own checking accounts, it can own savings accounts, it can own investments. And the purpose of this trust is to benefit another person for some reason. And oftentimes what we see is we want to put some money aside for someone for college, or we want to put some money aside for someone to help with their life expenses until they reach a certain age. And the key here, though, is although that person can benefit from this money, there's a trustee, the trust manager, who can kick money out for these reasons that we are able to outline in this document. But that person, that trust beneficiary, doesn't actually own the money. And because they don't actually own the money, they can't lose the money. So what we're doing is we're creating a pot of money that's, although they can benefit from it, they don't actually own it, and therefore they can't lose it. Oftentimes, the reason we're creating a spendthrift trust is just part of a larger plan. So an example of this would be my own estate plan, and this is true. So I have an estate plan that gives money to spouse, and then if spouse is not there, it goes to my kids. And what we want to do is make sure that my kids are in a place where they won't get a ton of money before they're ready. So for example, we're going to hold this money aside for them in a spendthrift trust, and we'll just make this up. We'll say until they're 30. So if everybody's over 30, we're just going to bypass this thing. They're just going to get the money. But if someone's under 30 years old, we're going to take their share and we're going to hold it in this spendthrift trust. The benefit there is if they're under 18 years old, well, we don't want them trying to sign bank accounts and investment account documents anyway, so they won't because they're not going to get it yet. Also, what does that 18-year-old oftentimes do? They buy the car. We're going to make sure that that doesn't happen quite yet anyway. When they reach the age of 30, they'll get this money. And now it is theirs, and they can do whatever they want. We're no longer in control. You can set the age whatever you want it to be. I just made up 30. In the meantime, though, we can make decisions for them on what this money can be used for. And this can be anything that's pretty much not illegal. Like that's really we don't want it to be against public policy. We don't want it to be harmful, but the trustee, that is our trust manager, they're going to look at this trust document. They're going to say, okay, what should I use this for? Sky's the limit. As long as it's the trustee's discretion and not the beneficiary's decision, well, the beneficiary doesn't have a say. So it's this person, this is our manager. And as long as we maintain that, it remains a spendthrift trust. It's not the beneficiary's money to lose. It's this person's money to manage. What we see the most is going to be called a HEMS standard, H-E-M-S, healthcare. Anything with healthcare. If my kids get sick or hurt, there is money available there to supplement that insurance or whatever it is. Maintenance and support is those general living expenses. They're under 18. We need to get them to 18, and there's expenses that go with that. There's a guardian. They have a house payment. These people are taking up air. They're taking up fuel. They're taking up groceries. We want to make sure that trustee can supplement that. And then, of course, education, college, vocational, maybe private school if they're young enough and that makes sense. This trust I'm hypothetically laying out is until age 30, so maybe graduate school. So we're going to help them along the way. In addition to that, sometimes the trustee will make additional expenditures that are just going to make their life a little more pleasant. So they're getting the money when they're 30 anyway. So maybe in their 20s, there's a little extra travel or there's a little extra that they can have in the meantime. But we can also leave it up to the trustee's discretion. We can just say, hey, trustee, if it looks like it's a good thing to pay for, go ahead and pay for it. Or we can say just healthcare. Or we can say just education, but only if you have a 2.0 or a 3.0 or something like that in college. We can really do whatever the client wants. There are some standards of distribution that are much more common and easily recognizable. So sometimes we prefer those just from an administration standpoint. But really, it's up to the client and what they want. Spendthrift trusts, the advantage there is that the beneficiary doesn't have enough of a say where the money is deemed to be theirs. It's easy to mess that up. There's a lot of templates that you can buy that do things like give powers of appointment where you give the beneficiary limited control or limited say. Sometimes we name the beneficiary as the trustee and there can be some problems there. If they have too much control over it, it's kind of hard to argue that it's not theirs. And because of that, you can lose the ability of it to be a spendthrift trust. It can lose its status as a spendthrift trust. So we need to be very careful about that. That's something that is a little bit easy to mess up. Estate planning, in my opinion, is always about peace of mind and knowing that this is going to work. And I believe the best way to do that is to work with people who understand what they're doing when it comes to these. Our law firm, our attorneys have been doing spendthrift trusts as long as they've been doing plans. They're such an integral part of will planning and trust planning that virtually every plan we do has some form of this in there. And collectively, at least one of the attorneys has been doing this since the early 2000s. So we've worked on thousands of plans collectively that have had some level of spendthrift trust protection. Our clients hire our firm to represent them in their estate plan for a number of reasons. I think one of them is, honestly, we've had a lot of people say really good things about us. I believe we do very, very good work, and I believe people have made that known to their friends and family. So that's always the biggest compliment we can get, is when someone sends a family member of theirs to work with us as well. Financial professionals trust us, so we get a lot of financial advisors and accountants who send their clients our way to talk about their estate plan, their will, their trust, whatever it might be. More importantly, I think when someone comes to us without being a referral, they just research us online, I think from the minute they call us to the minute they get their kind of overview phone call with one of our staff, to the point where they're actually meeting with their attorney and spending some time talking about the things that are very important to them, their family, their loved ones, the things that they've been working for, I believe there's a level of comfort there. And I believe we really know how to talk to people in a way that isn't lawyerly. I think it's a friendly conversation, and we get a lot done in a very efficient way by working with people where they are. Client communication is one of our values as a firm. The policy within the firm is 8 business hours, but we're much faster than that. We usually try to get back to folks within an hour during weekdays, business hours. But more importantly than that, during the process, we are going to map out with the client when they will hear from their attorney. We are going to map out when there'll be a review call, when they're going to get documents. They're going to know what's going to happen at each step of the process. We are a small law firm. We're right on the corner of Minneapolis and Richfield. We're not downtown. And we have found our advantage to be, we can create a process that is very custom to each individual, rather than having to push that client through the large law firm with all of its many departments. We are able to create something that is very much focused on that family. When we're talking about spendthrift trusts, we're usually talking about will or trust planning. And the way to start there, if you give our office a call or send us a message, we're going to get you on the calendar with our client services director. She's going to lay out a couple cost options for you, take some information from you, but also give you an idea of the process. If this looks like a good move for you, if it looks like we're a fit for you, she will get you on the calendar with an attorney. She will get you some information regarding what information we need for that meeting, and then that meeting is going to be shockingly productive. We're going to get a ton done during that meeting. You and your lawyer will walk through a number of options on what these things can do, things that we've seen a lot, problems we've seen, and ways around that. You don't have to come in here knowing anything about it. We'll definitely outline some options for you. During that meeting, we'll probably get the whole plan drawn out, including the spendthrift portion of that. And from there, you will know through the whole process, when is the next time I will hear from this lawyer? When is the next time that we'll be getting document drafts? You'll know it the whole way. We try to be very transparent, and we'll walk you through the whole process.